All right. So we are in business again here, dealing with the quadratic formula and the discriminant today. Quadratic formula, cool thing about it. Any quadratic equation can be solved by this. So anything that you could factor, anything that you could complete the square, anything you could do, any of those things on the quadratic formula works for you. So I kind of call it our Swiss Army knife, our tool of all trades for the quadratics here. So looks kind of complex. That's why we always keep it nearby. We put it on a Post-it note, or we just have our notes as we're working through things. But here's the big thing that we've got to remember with the quadratic formula. Okay? Highlight it if you have a highlighter. Star it. Bubble it like I am. Your quadratic formula has to be, okay, for it to be useful, this has to be in standard form. Okay? We have to have the x squared, then the x, then our constant term. Otherwise, things get messed up. And so, when we start working these, okay, solve using the quadratic formula. First, I make sure I see the equal 0, and I do. And then I just start working my way down. 2. When there's no number in front of x, we deem it a 1, and -5. So here's how all the setup works. I just follow the formula. The opposite of b, plus or minus the square root of b squared. I'll chat about the parentheses in a minute here. Minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay. First things first. Why did I put the parentheses around the 1? Because as we've talked about before, if I just do, let's say it was a negative instead. I know it's not for this problem. Just kind of humor me here. Okay, there's a difference in if I'm using the parentheses or not. Now, with a positive number, it's not going to make a difference, but I really do want to kind of work at that. So that's the first thing I want to warn you about. Second one is this. I know how some of you operate. Now, some of you are going to be like, okay, let me do the stuff that's underneath here. 1 squared minus 4 times 2 times -5. Hardy, I got a decimal. We don't do decimals. Math and runner. Hardy, it's still a decimal. Yeah, here's the deal. I only want, when I'm doing this, when I go to the calculator, I just want to do the part underneath. Don't use the radical right now. Okay? I just want 1 squared minus 4 times 2 times -5. Here's why. Okay, I get 41. Now, that's still under the radical. And 2 times 2 is 4. This is an exact answer. Okay? The only thing I need to still check at this point is, does the 41 break down? And if I have from my packet, or maybe from an attachment within there, or maybe even an attachment on this particular lesson, my perfect squares, what I'm doing is seeing, are there any perfect squares that divide evenly into 41? Now, 1 doesn't really help us, and we're going to ignore that. And the answer is no. And if that's true, you are done. Okay? But yeah, decimals will not work on any of the online programs we're doing or things like that. Wouldn't work on an SAT, wouldn't work on an ASVAB. We just got to get used to this. So some of you are already starting to think ahead, and you're going, oh. So we're going to have to break down radicals. Sometimes. So here's what we're going to do. We got the equal 0 again. That's always the first thing to look for. Jot down my coefficients. Here we go again. Okay? And even speak it out as you're doing it. It helps you to start memorizing it and to not make silly errors. Like the opposite of b. You'd be shocked at the number of people that just write down 1 there and it messes up everything. And they get so mad. Square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Again, just this part in your calculator. So I will do mine over here to the side as well. This is one where if you just have a regular calculator that you're sitting there with, that is absolutely fine to be using here. All right. I got the square root of 49 over 8. And this should be setting off alarms. Ding, 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 ding. Perfect square. Time to move, Hardy. There he goes. Square root of 49 is 7. No more radical. Okay? Now, When things break down nice like this, it's nice, but I don't get to leave it like I left this one because now there's no radicals left. There's no reason I can't simplify it. So break them apart. Reminder again, you're like, why are you doing parentheses? Same reason we talked about with the other one. Let's say I do one without, and then I do one with. Totally different answers. The one on the bottom is correct, but not the decimal. Enter, enter. Again, most of you probably could do that in your head. I mean, 7 minus 1 is 6, but 6 over 8 you need to reduce. Negative 1 minus 7 is negative 8. Divided by 8 is negative 1. So again, that's usually one of the bigger tricks that we run into is, is it going to come out nice? If it does, I need to keep simplifying. Because again, Delta math, quizzes, you're not going to see answers like this if there's no radical. They're going to be actually down to the answers. Okay. More here. All right, we're rolling. So 7, negative 2, 3. Almost fooled you, didn't I? Problem. Not equals 3. We want equals 0. Subtract that over. Oh, don't let this be you. Okay? Make sure that equals 0 is always there. My C sign would have been messed up, and I'd have been hosed for the whole problem. So just be careful. All right. Opposite of B. Positive 2. The square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. All right, let's see what we get here. 2 plus or minus. So we got 4, 21, 84, negative 84. 4 minus negative 84. Again, put that on the calculator if you're not sure. I've been doing this for like half my life, so I'm kind of used to all this at this point. So now it comes to the moment of truth. 88 is not a perfect square. If I'm not sure of that, I see that on my list. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to start either kind of with my common sense division in my head or using the calculator. I'm going to start dividing all these numbers that are less than 88 in here to see if I can get one that goes in nicely. And as I check them, I'll be your human calculator here. Nope, 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 nope. Yep. Okay. If you do 88 divided by 4, you get 22. And the square root of 4 is 2. It's perfect. It's going to get out of radical jail. So what's that going to make my answer look like? We've got 2 plus or minus 2 square root of 22. Broke down, didn't break down. Over 14. Now this is great. You've done a super job, but there's one more little piece. Okay, when we look to see if there's any more breakdown, we never look at the radical. Radical jail, it's off to the side. We're not doing anything with it. But if you look at the other 3 values that are there, and there's a number that divides into all 3, and there is in this case, in that case, we go ahead and we divide them all by 2. So 1 plus or minus 1 square root of 22 over 7. This is one of those situations if we're doing delta math, okay? If you get to this and put this in as the answer, they're going to tell you you're wrong. If that happens, screenshot it, okay, when you're done with your quiz and send it to me. I can get you some credit back for that because the only thing was just the final simplifier. If you put in the 1 here and it messes you up and says, no, it's wrong, it's just 1 plus or minus square root of 22, again, screenshot it. I need to see it though, okay? But otherwise, after you just have it done a time or two, you'll probably be like, yeah, I don't want that to happen to me again. Okay, as we go in to do the last one here, I would suggest at this point that you pause me, that you try it on your own if you have not, and that you unpause me at the end here to see how it went. So pause me for a moment if you haven't. All right, nice to have you back. So let's see. Okay, we got the equals 0, so we don't have to mess with that. So opposite of B, plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. All right, let's see here. Negative 8 plus or minus 64 minus 60 is 4, 6. Okay, again, alarms go off. Ding, 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 perfect square. Plus or minus 2 over 6. And again, if all the radicals disappear, there is no reason I can't get to a final answer. Now, I may use my calculator to do a little bit of work here, but let's see. Negative 8 plus 2 is negative 6, divided by 6 is negative 1. Negative 8 minus 2 is negative 10. Negative 10 over 6 is going to reduce to negative 5/3. Okay? So that's our quadratic formula. The only other piece we have to deal with here is something called the discriminant. And that's if we just want to know the type of solutions that we're going to have and the number of solutions we're going to have. We don't really care about the answer itself, or we want a clue. So here's the good thing, a cool thing about the discriminant. You've kind of seen that recently, haven't you? It's the value that's under the radical when we're doing the quadratic formula. But notice we don't use the radical here. Okay, it's just b squared minus 4ac. And so whatever answer I get out of that, whatever d value we get, is going to determine a few things for us. Okay? If d equals 0, I'm going to get one real solution, because if I had a parabola and I was looking at the parabola, it would hit the x-axis and bounce back up. It would be a double root. So I'm going to have one real answer. If d is positive, I'm going to have two real solutions. Okay? So notice, when I say real, it doesn't mean necessarily that it's going to be positive. It just means it's going to be real, like something that could show up in a calculator, show up on a graph. If your d value is negative, okay, there's a few ways that this is, how do I want to put it, that this is put out there by different websites, so I want to make sure I'm getting the language that I want here. Some of them will call it unreal. Some of them will call them irrational. I'm going to call it imaginary. Okay, two imaginary solutions. Okay, and so what it's basically going to be is different types of values that you see. So I'm going to show this on the calculator while we actually do this. So, okay, calculate the discriminant, figure out the types and number of solutions. Okay, so here I look. My a value would be 1, b would be negative 6, c would be 9. So I go ahead, plug it in. So b squared, yep, still using the parentheses, minus 4ac. So I look, and I can type that straight into my calculator just like that. That's fine. I like to actually work it out a little bit here, though. Okay, so when I get 0, it means I have one real solution. But I want you to see why that is. So we're going to go to the calculator here. Do you have to do this? No, you can just kind of watch right here. But it's a nice way of kind of double checking your work if you want. Oh, I got to set my window back. See, all these things. Those of you wondering ever sometime, if you want to reset a calculator, like if you just have done a problem like the ones we were doing yesterday where we had to mess the window during the meet, you can just go to Zoom and go to 6 Z standard. That'll get you back to normal here. So now it's going to be a little easier to see here momentarily that my answer here hits the x-axis one time. Okay? So really what we're looking for is x-intercepts. Okay? So it hit the x-axis once. I have one solution. Okay? Now when I get to the next one, let's see what happens. So A, B, C. Always make sure, again, it says equals 0 still. We won't get stuck in the trap here. B squared minus 4AC. All right. So we get that plugged into the calculator, or use our brain a little bit here. And I get a negative. which means I'm going to get two imaginary solutions. Now, there is actually another way I could write that, but I want to show you this first. And I'm hoping by showing you at the same time I talk about it, it makes it really hit home. Okay, notice there are 0 x-intercepts. This parabola never crosses the x-axis, okay? So another thing that we could say, besides two imaginary solutions, is that there's going to be 0 real solutions, okay? And we'll get into talking about what that means. That's going to come in the next section when we talk about complex numbers, okay? But for right now, we'll just stick with this. Or you could say 0 real solutions. Technically, that's correct. But I just wanted to introduce that to you a little bit. All right, one more. So A is 1, B is -6, C is -9, B squared minus 4AC, 36, plus 36. Yeah, be careful. Is 72. 2 real solutions. Now, let's get this one in here. This way we're going to have seen every possibility that can come up for you. And we should see it cross the x-axis twice, and it did. Right there, right there. Now notice with the discriminant, these aren't the actual answers. It's just telling me how many answers there are. I'd have to use the quadratic formula or something else to find the actual answers. And that's going to put this one on a wrap. If you have questions, as always, let me know. Otherwise, again, got some practice here for you on the back. Have yourself a good rest of the day.